If you've been sitting on a book idea or you keep telling yourself, I need to write this book, but you haven't even started, or you started and you stalled out, or you're not even sure if writing a book is even the best way to turn your ideas into income, you're going to want to pay extra close attention to this episode because in this episode of the Publish Creator Podcast, I'm talking to Raissa Silva, a creator who took her idea and instead of writing a book, she turned into a card game. And what's even more interesting about that is not because it's different, but because it's experiential and it's engaging. And it opens up a completely different way to think about how we as creators monetize what we know. So if you've been thinking, I really need to write this book first before I can start monetizing, you really want to rethink that. So let's get right into it. All righty, awesome. Welcome back to another episode of the Publish Creator Podcast. I am really excited to record this episode because this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And it is what I call alternative option, or not just say alternative, I want to say options to publishing your work beyond a book. Obviously, I talk all about books. I help creators develop books. That is always going to be one of the foundational pieces of the way that we distribute and monetize our content. But I've also been able to begin to expand the definition of what it means to be a published creator beyond just a finished book, whether it be digital or physical. And what we're going to talk about today with my special guest, who I'm so excited, I'm going to have her introduce herself in just a moment, talk about is games. Now, we think about obviously workbooks, we think about maybe card decks, we think about obviously the courses online, we think about all of those different things. But have you ever considered a game around your intellectual property, a game around what you've created as could be a book? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So sit back, take notes, and let your mind just kind of think, wow, how could I possibly turn what I'm doing into a game? How could I develop that? That's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. So thank you so much for being with me today, Raissa Silva, and I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. So, my name is Raissa Silva. I'm the CEO and founder of Outsmart Your Toxic Boss. Yes, that is actually the name that I gave my business. It is silly, intentionally so. It's to make an impression on everyone and something worth remembering. So, what is my business all about? So, Outsmart Your Toxic Boss is a brand that's built at the intersection of humor, systems reform, and workplace culture. So I make satirical card games, run workshops, and consult with organizations and speak at conferences, all with the same goal essentially, to help people recognize toxic workplace patterns, navigate them strategically, and laugh while designing out the liability. So today I'll be talking about my game, how I ended up creating it, and why I decided to make a game instead of writing a book.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm all ears and ready to go. All right, so let's hop right into it. So, first question. Now, obviously, we've already talked about you could have totally written a book, but what made you decide not to go that route and decide to do a game of all things instead? And tell us about the game and what it actually, what it does.
Yeah, of course. So I developed a game, a card game called The Corporate Menace. So The Corporate Menace is the literal description, as funny as it is, of the game is giving the toxic boss villain the stupid games because of the giving them the stupid prizes for the stupid games they try to play with their employees. And so if you go on the website outsmartyourtoxicboss.com and look at the see the game page, you can get a little demo of what it's like. But the game, mechanically speaking, is almost like Cards Against Humanity and Uno had a baby in a toxic office. And there is the audacity of Cards Against Humanity because the character that is getting back at the toxic boss is very devious and also very witty and audacious. But then you also have the mechanics of the wild cards in Uno, where you're able to steal cards from other players, change the turn order. You're able to make people swap their hands with each other and things of the sort. So, long story short, the reason why I decided to go with a game is because games are experiential. You are in them, you feel them, and you're able to ultimately put on the costume of whatever the character is that you are playing in the game. So, whereas with a book, it's more of like an outsider's perspective. You're kind of reading, listening in, and like getting an idea of what the character's world is like. Whereas the game that I designed, you're in it. You get to actually put on the costume of a corporate menace, and you get to put a voice activated sticker on your boss's favorite coffee machine because they didn't like the tone that you had in the meeting. Because you're just being petty, and you're allowed to in that setting, and that's okay. So that is one of the reasons why. But also, they always say that office politics, corporate politics is a game. And I figured what better way than to turn it into a literal one that makes people laugh, and also that makes people realize that toxic bosses aren't as scary as they try to make themselves out to be. And
Mm.
having that humor aspect, it's also what's going to help people realize that they can slowly grow a backbone at work as well. They can slowly learn how to, stand up for themselves in a way that's authentic while putting on this costume of the corporate menace and just laughing along the way and realizing that the stakes aren't that high and that you can advocate for yourself.
Well, there's so much to unpack here. I don't even know where to start exactly. So, but I will start with this. The first thing is you're speaking my love language when you said experiential,
Hmm.
because as you so beautifully pointed out, is that when we are engaging with a book, be it digital, physical, whatever, it is there can be things that we put in the book, like links to things we can click on to go watch videos or go listen to certain, maybe audio files and things like that. And that's one of the ways that you can integrate experiences into. I'm always talking about that is how can I create experiences, not just a book or a what have you. So I love the fact that you had that already as the cornerstone of what you, and as for those of you listening, I really want you to take from that and ask that question, how can I make this more of an experience? And more to the point, I guess, but I'm always a big proponent about not always asking how, but asking after you ask the how, what experience do people want? What experience that maybe they are really looking for? Like, because what we're talking about here is a transformation from where they were when they started it and where they are as they're going through it. And the transformation being that they are, like I said, literally engaging with this content in a way that's making them step maybe outside of themselves, think differently, expose new ideas, see different perspective shifts, which makes the learning and the acquisition of the content so much, integration, I should say, of the content be so much deeper and so much richer. So, with all of that I just said, when you started developing, first of all, is it a board game or is it a card? Is it a card deck? What exactly is the actual physical, tangible items that people will be getting with the game?
So they will be getting, so it's a card game. This is actually the prototype. So there's that for everyone to see. This is the
Hmm.
third version now. It
Hmm.
did start off as a board game, but because of the continued customer discovery interviews I decided to start off with card game first.
Hmm.
Portable, something that can people can pull out anywhere, anytime, and just play and have a good time.
Hmm.
Um, and then secondly, with that, it's also something that there is a low barrier to entry.
Okay.
You can make card games relatively affordably.
Okay.
Like these were printed at Staples. These were printed at Staples, the
Wonderful.
prototypes. So the barrier to entry when it comes to making games is not that high. There's plenty of content that's out there as well to be able to make it. I believe there's a creator that I watched a lot, Adam in Wales, if I remember that's his channel correctly. He's
Hmm.
pretty popular on YouTube.
Hmm.
Great content on like creating really good games.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's kind of like where it all started. So first it was a board game, decided to pivot, make it something more portable. Now it's the card game. We're actively play testing it right now, and I'll be making the third or fourth, I have lost count, there have been so many different decks, prototype with new additions, but the game is like 80% there,
Okay.
which is pretty exciting. So it is almost like perfect, but I'm also a perfectionist. I could, in theory, sell it like this now, but I want to keep iterating just a little bit more.
Okay. Wonderful. Now you just also said something that I wanted you to deep dive into a little bit more. So you've created the prototypes and you had these gatherings
Mhm.
where people are actually experiencing the game, the card deck, and what was it like to organize that? And what was the intel that you were able to get when people actually were able to engage with your content pre-launch, pre-publication?
So the first time I ever play tested the game, it wasn't something that I organized. I had finished cutting up the cards and I threw them in my bag and I was on my way to go to dinner.
Mhm.
And just as luck would have it, there was a gaming bar right around the corner from my apartment. And then I decided, like, I just walked in and I would ask them, like, is this a gaming bar? And it was a video game bar. And then there were people at the bar, and then I told them that I made a game and I needed people to play it, and I had never played it with other people before. And then that was the first informal play test. So I just walked right in and asked people to play and join me. People, because it was a gaming bar, they were very receptive, super kind, and they gave really great feedback. So I would probably recommend if you're able to get in touch with like the gaming community in your area when you want to test the first prototypes, do it.
Okay.
It is more intimidating to actually put your game out there,
Mhm.
uh, but it is worthwhile because I've played the game now half a dozen times,
Okay.
half a dozen times with different groups of people, and the game has changed significantly from like the design of like this is like the first deck, like the design of the back to like the colors of the cards in the front, things of the sort.
Mhm.
So definitely just putting yourself out there. And if you can organize things, organize them, but start with your friends. Start with your friends and start
Okay.
with your family.
Okay.
But more importantly, know who your target audience is.
Yes.
So, for example, when I went to that gaming bar, a lot of the people that I play the game with, they don't work in the corporate space. This game is called The Corporate Menace. So there were some aspects of the game that they didn't really resonate with. That is okay. That doesn't mean that the game is bad or the game is, there's an issue with it. It just means that they might not necessarily fit your entire target audience.
Okay.
And but because this game also plays with power dynamics and power dynamics are inherently human and sarcasm is also inherently human, they
Mhm.
were able to pick up the game really quickly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just being mindful of that as well.
Okay. So glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next question. It's like, well, does is that target is that group that you went to actually the target audience for the subject matter of the game in and of itself? So you already addressed this. That was my next question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would say, and you also answer the next question I was going to ask. Well, if you don't have access to a gaming community in this respect, and would the data be better if it was from the actual people that the in this context the product is designed for? Um, would you get better feedback, or I shouldn't say more relevant feedback, from the people that you are, providing this service for? And then
Mm,
so I want you to answer that question. Then I would like to ask you, how would you already said family members and friends, but you know, I I say that with a grain of salt because again, is that your target audience that you're selling the product to? So I'd love you to address those questions.
definitely. So when it comes to target audience, so for example, I bring my cards with me wherever I go now because I never know who I'm going to meet.
Okay.
And I went to an event here in Chicago recently, and there were several other corporate employees that were at the event. Show them the cards, they absolutely loved it. Immediately, people were signing up to play test the game. Um, because the people, again, that get it, get it. So let's say, for example, you are making a game on accounting and the foundationals of accounting. So you have to think about who are the individuals that are going to benefit from this. So they could be students, for example. Let's say, okay, they're students, but are you targeting high school students? Are you targeting university students? Are you targeting, early professionals? Or are you targeting people that have been in accounting for quite some time and they know all the jargon and they think there are certain terms that are funny that pertain to Excel. Who knows,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But it's just like how when you are writing a good story, you create a persona. You also want to be able to create a persona for your ideal customer and then get an idea of what is it they do for their day to day, where they go, where they frequent. Start putting yourself in those spaces and you'll find those people. And then as you just network and talk to people about the game and show it to them, some
Mhm.
people will be interested, some people won't. Doesn't mean the game's not good, just means that you haven't found your people yet. Also, social media definitely helps. Um, Putting out your ideas out there. I have social media for the game. The TikTok account is more personality based than it is gameplay.
Okay.
So also thinking about what is the personality behind the individuals that would benefit as well from the game.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. So those are good first steps. Now you also said that it's as far as the is it character driven as far as the different as I haven't seen the card deck yet, but is it character driven
So
identity that
so I have ultimately created because here this is not the only game that's going to be coming out of this. So Outsmart Your Toxic Boss is the brand. The Corporate Menace is the name of the first game.
okay.
But within that, I also have 24 office villains that I've created for this game.
Okay.
And prior to the Kickstarter launch, 10 of those are going to be revealed on the Kickstarter waitlist. So if you go to the website right now and you look at the Kickstarter page, you'll be able to see Gaslighting Gabe's HR personnel file that I created. And so the character, I feel like the storytelling and creating is the fun aspect of it. If you're
Hmm.
able to allow, if you're going to make a game, you need to have fun. You
Yes.
know, you need to be able to have fun. You need to be able to laugh. Gaslighting Gabe is absolutely hilarious to me. Finding coming up with the names, like if again back to the accounting example, if you have like analytical Anna
Yes.
and like she has something, that is like her special power, that's something that helps drive the narrative home. Because at the end of the day, stories are inherently human, and we've been telling stories since like the first like dawn.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, definitely characters are important. I find them to be much helpful. It also makes marketing easier. You have a lot more content as well.
Hmm.
But then you're not trying to stretch for. Like I have 24 different characters that I can pull from to
Hmm.
create content about
Hmm.
and allowing yourself to be creative and having fun, I think is like the fundamental part, especially when you're working with games.
Yes. Well, and that also ties back again into the experience, make it
Exactly.
experiential. There's an author that actually this particular person, by I'm not going to mention her name, but she's very like extremely successful teaching people how to trade stock.
Hmm.
And I've known about her for years, and she's I found out on the webinar, or I shouldn't say it was a conference that she attended,
Hmm.
and she created a course
Hmm.
teaching people how to trade stock. And it was on a platform called Teachable.
Hmm.
And she generated the game, not the game, the course generated $60 million in sales from
Hmm.
this course that she she created. And everyone was like, I mean, I knew about it, I knew about her.
Hmm.
And so she's writing, she's already written it, it's being published in the summer, a book. And everyone knows her. I'm saying all this to say everyone knows her as this educator. She was a former school teacher, high school teacher that learned how to trade stock and became a multimillionaire. And she said when she got approached to write her book, she said, I kept writing the book and I just didn't want to write another stuffy how-to type book. Every time I tried to do that, it just wasn't flowing for me. So she decided to write it, even though she decided to write it from a narrative perspective. So literally, like she created characters,
Hmm.
her being one of the characters, the conversation she had with her mom was one of the other characters. And she wrote this story about her journey from being a school teacher that was working in interesting enough, it just came to my awareness, in a toxic work environment.
That'll do it.
In a toxic work environment, she was getting no support and she wanted out. She wasn't making any money. and she learned how to trade stock and became very successful, but she's writing it all from a narrative perspective. So it's her sort of biography in a will, but it's not, but she doesn't use her name. It's like all written like it's like a novel. And when I heard her say that, I thought that is absolutely brilliant. She said, because I didn't want a dry, stuffy how-to book. Like everyone writes a book like that. So again, this just goes back to circle back around to um, thinking what I'm always saying all the time to my listeners is think differently, not necessarily bigger, but
Mhm.
just think differently. How can I do a slight slant on what I'm doing? And then, of course, what I say, pilot test it with real life people to get that level of engagement, those early adopters. And I know that you're launching a Kickstarter campaign, which I want to talk about that
Mhm.
and what your experience has been with that so far. But yeah, so I'm saying you're very plugged into what I'm seeing as I don't necessarily want to call it a trend, but it's definitely something that I'm seeing that people are looking for. How can I take this here and then take it maybe right up to here and
Mhm.
just make it just more, I don't want you're using the word engaging, but how can I make it more
No,
fun, more,
yeah.
more exciting? Yeah.
No, definitely. I agree because I mean, we do live in a time where like attention spans are quite short.
Yes.
There's so much that's being thrown at us all at once. So things that are engaging are definitely what's going to land. And
Mhm.
no one wants their body of work to be something that is put out there, all those sweat and tears, the years put into it, and then it's suddenly forgotten. So thinking about how to actually make your authorship, your expertise, something that is memorable, I think
Mhm.
is really important, and making that like a cornerstone of what it is that you're working on will really change the game. Branding is really important in that sense as well. I don't recall her name, but there is another creator that I have come across. She talks about the importance of creating your brand mythology
Mhm.
and how you're just like all great storytellers, there's a hero, there's a villain, and then there is the story that supports all of that. And given that your audience is full of authors and full of individuals that want to become authors, thinking about how can, like, who is the villain in my story?
Mhm.
Mine is kind of obvious. It's a toxic boss,
Mhm.
but maybe in someone else's, let's say that it is, I don't know. For some reason, it's the trash man. The trash man is the villain in your story for whatever reason, and it's the
Okay.
villain for your audience as well. And that somehow ties into what it is the expertise that you're putting out on the table and you're teaching people. And that's what's going to draw them in. That's going to make them want to binge and like listen to what you have to say and follow along with all your other projects. So,
Yes. Yes. Well, if you think about it, with every, TV show, especially dramas or whatever it is, even comedies, there's always got to be an antagonist, there's always got to be a protagonist.
yes.
That's what drives us to stay with us, or whether it's a TV series, a movie, or whatever the case may be. So, but typically, as I said, when we go into writing books, fiction, nonfiction, I mean, more
Mhm.
specifically around teaching,
Mhm.
the tendency obviously is, or the model is, okay, you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this. And so it's all how to. But again, going into this narrative way of is putting the information out there, it just, I don't know, it takes it to it hits another part of the brain
Mhm.
that makes it more like, because the thing is that, you think about the most famous villains in the world from, J.R. Ewing, for example, who was like this horrible person. And I remember back in the day, I grew up in Dallas
Mhm.
during the time when that show was really popular. And I remember hearing he was a villain everyone loved to hate.
Mhm.
You hear that all the time. It's like, so we actually do have an attraction to the villain because then we want the hero to always slay the villain, but the villain always has to be there because even once the battle is over, there has to be a new story a new narrative that comes in that then reactivates the villain to do something that then the hero has to come in and then okay, now you're at it again. I got to come in, and
Exactly.
and say one more time. So, but it keeps us drawn to these shows, if you will, or these movies for years.
Exactly.
Um, Especially like if you look at the crime novel crime or mystery or romance, we want those continued characters. We want to see how they evolve and how they develop. So, putting this spin on teaching how to information, if you will, in this way is something that I was completely taken aback by and thinking like, wow, this actually opens up a lot of opportunity
No,
for,
it does. I mean, like, let's think about it, right? Let's workshop this for a bit.
yes.
So, I was using the accounting example. So, what would you say is an accountant's villain? So, who might be the villain of an accountant? I think it might be someone that doesn't track their finances.
Mm-hmm.
That is what makes it really difficult to be an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is not meticulous, someone who doesn't understand the importance of being detail oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And then if someone is learning to wants to teach others the fundamentals of accounting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then that is the persona that you are trying to get people to not be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you are taking them on the journey of how to transform someone that is not detail oriented, or better yet, you're getting someone to transform their tendencies to not be detail oriented
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to then become detail oriented
Mm-hmm.
and seeing why that brings value.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that sense, it's like it is possible to create that like experience,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have to have a lot of out of the box thinking because, like you said, it's so typical. It's very linear. It's you do this first, and then this is how you teach, and X, Y, and Z. But again, letting yourself be creative and seeing how things might interconnect, I think really does help.
Yes, yes. When you said that as you were talking, I had this thought in my head. There was a film with not Matt Damon, but his buddy that he wrote the film Good Will Hunting with. I can't think of his name right now. Um, anyway, the name of the film is called The Accountant.
Mhm. Oh, I guess I feel like I've heard that one before.
Yeah, and it's like, and I kept I'm bringing it up because you brought the name, like you brought up the title, the career
Mhm.
accountant or the job title accountant, and I thought about that, and I watched the movie years ago, so I don't remember exactly, but I remember he was like a forensics accountant
Mhm.
and was with this corporation who was trying to sell it, but basically the numbers weren't, he was able to go in there and actually maybe it was either him or maybe I'm thinking of another character or Christian Bale, one of the two, but the whole thing was this guy was a forensic accountant and he was able to come in because the math wasn't mathing and
Exactly.
you know and they were trying to sell the company and he was like something doesn't smell right.
hmm And so he took down the villain, whoever was trying to, launder money out of the business.
Yeah.
So like writing a story like that to show the importance of those traits in accounting.
That's good. That was a good one. I'm so glad that one came to me. Can't remember that guy's name. Beneflect. That's his name.
Yes, yes.
Beneflect. I couldn't remember his name. I can remember Matt Damon, but I couldn't remember his name. But anyway, so well, this is cool. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. So I wanted we when we had our preliminary conversation about having you on the show and interviewing you, you said something that I really resonated with. You said shape shifting author.
Yes.
And I loved that. I immediately resonated with that. So let's dive into that a little bit because I feel like that's what we're talking about here. Um, uh, Tell me when you first said that to me, what was your intention behind that particular term?
Mm, literally shape-shifting authorship. When we think of authorship, at least what comes to my mind first are books, publications,
Hmm.
pen to paper.
Hmm.
But to shapeshift means to change the shape of it, change the medium. And like we said, mentioned earlier in this conversation, that I could have written a book,
Hmm.
but instead of creating a how-to book on how to outsmart your toxic boss and protect yourself at work and protect your sanity, I decided to make a game instead. And the game is, I mean, the medium in my mind is really just a means to an end.
Hmm.
So, like, what is the lesson that you're looking to have other people learn?
Hmm.
So maybe, the way someone shapeshifts authorship is by hosting ceramics classes.
Hmm.
And somehow ceramics is tied to what it is that, you are looking to share with other people.
Hmm.
Let's say another one is art. It's literal paint on a canvas
Hmm.
because art also is a form of authorship.
Hmm.
It's a way of sharing stories. Let's say that it's hosting an event and
Hmm.
having people experience something
Hmm.
like language exchange events where you're learning about other people, and those are new stories and new cultures and new languages. So to shapeshift authorship, it's just changing the medium, but still getting the lesson delivered.
Exactly. Exactly. I thought about our conversation after you said that, and I started thinking about myself and like one of the things that I haven't done in a very long time, and something that I actually love to do in particular is bake. Never done
Mm,
it in a very long time. And I was thinking about it, and I said, when you are developing now in the context of what I do and helping creators create or become authors
mhm,
and broadening that definition of what that now means beyond just a book, but a physical book. But the thing about baking is its timing and its systems in which things get put together.
mhm,
You can't just dump everything into a bowl. It's like the wet things have to be separated and blended first, then the dry things have to be measured, and then they're gradually introduced to one another.
mhm,
Um, and each piece builds upon the layer in order to get the product
mhm,
that you want. And I was saying, thinking to myself as I was kind of puzzling this out in my mind, I'm like, how could I apply that baking principle to, and essentially like baking your product or baking your book?
mhm,
Like there's ingredients and they have to be measured, and there has to be not too much and not too little. And there's when are they combined, and then when are they introduced and blended together. Um, and all of it is a part of helping someone get the information, but in a way that is not like the standard dry, oh, just sit down and just write the book. Well, many people try to do that, and most books don't ever get finished because there's like, well, I've got work and I've got a family and I've got this going on, and I'm not in the mood to write to, whatever, the case may be. But can we find more experiential ways to help people get the result that they want and actually, dare I say, make it fun and pleasurable and not so heavy laden, and again, as a what I call authorpreneur, being able to think outside that box, like with your card, when you're talking about doing a card game or whatever, it's just it's a fresh new way of teaching and educating and supporting and enlightening that I just don't, it's just so much more to it than just, and again, I want to be really clear, I'm not bashing books. I love books. But how can we just even 20%, 30%, just think a little differently about it. And the big thing, which I'm taking from what you're saying, is don't do it by yourself. Like if you could have gone off on your own, Raissa, and just designed this whole thing,
mhm,
graphics, car, everything, had a bunch of them printed, not told a soul about it, came out one day with your card and go, here it is. And everyone's like, oh, what is it that I'm looking at? Who are
mhm.
you? What what is this that you've done? So I'm always saying, like, do it in an environment. like in an incubator, if you will.
Yes, no,
Get
I
the most of
definitely
your
agree.
tail. Go ahead. Yes, please.
Because so I'm currently in an MBA program with this organization called One Day.
Mhm,
And the whole basis for One Day is they teach you how to build a business and you get an accredited MBA at the same time. So in the program that I'm in, you're not in a vacuum. They intentionally tell you to get out there and figure out who your customers are and start talking to them.
mhm.
Because you can create something, but if you don't get feedback on it, people might not buy it and people might not care.
Mhm,
And that's a very direct way of putting it. But the
mhm,
reality is, it's like people are self-centered. It's not inherently a bad thing. It's just that we all have our own lives going on,
mhm,
and it's hard for us to kind of care for other things, especially in such a fast-paced world.
mhm,
So it's important to get that feedback because it's going to help you make the product better.
mhm.
And you have to be open to that feedback because if you're not going to make something good. It's
Yes,
just the reality of it. So you have to be able to get feedback. You have to learn to not take feedback personally.
yes.
Like there was grammar issues on my first version of my card deck.
Mhm,
Some of the colors that I picked didn't look that great in different lighting.
mhm,
The back of the card, you could very much tell it was generated by AI because I am not an artist. So you had
mhm,
to leverage AI to be able
mhm,
to make these things.
mhm,
Um, and it's some of the cards, the humor didn't land, and I had to iterate. You have
mhm,
to continuously keep working on it and refining it until you have a polished product that is ready for market that people just can't help but want to get their hands on.
mhm.
So you need to get that feedback. You need to go out there. I'm personally someone who's very extroverted, so I don't mind approaching strangers. Like
Yes.
I've been riding public transportation here in Chicago, and like I will talk to people about my game. And I understand that that's my personality. Not everyone is like that. But you have to, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to really put yourself out there, you have to go all in. There's no one foot in, one foot out. Either you're doing it or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. And it is a personal choice. I mean, I totally have respect for uh, author creators, if you will, who choose to just go off into their world and create their work and put it on Amazon and go on about their day. I have no issue about that. But if you want, in my personal opinion, if you want to maximize the intention behind why you created what you created and really help the people you're creating it for, and yes, increase your income potential and just get it's an even exchange, the full weight of and the impact. I mean, you're seeing in real time, Haisa, the real impact that what you created is happening on people, not them buying it online and you never see them. You have no idea how it's landing for them. It can't help but, as I know you're going to make more, as you said, it's going to help you make more product because you already have that real-time intel feedback. Is what I've always been saying for years is that entrepreneurs are the ones who are willing to get in front of their product
Mhm.
and stay in front of it so that they can build the best possible product that can always be reiterated.
Mm,
And that, if you think about, someone just said the other day with the iPhone, we wouldn't have the iPhone 17 if they stopped at one.
yeah.
And they put that phone out knowing that it was not anywhere near perfect.
Mm,
And we paid them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get
mm,
to 17.
yep, exactly.
So anyway, all right, so let's switch gears. I want to talk about your Kickstarter campaign and why you decide to go Kickstarter in order to fund it, and
Mhm.
how is it impacted, or is Kickstarter a part of your launch strategy? That's the question I want to ask.
So I would say that yes, Kickstarter is definitely part of my launch strategy. I decided to go with crowdfunding because this is a product that is for the masses. you know?
Mhm.
It's not necessarily for investors, um, because I wanted to keep the core of the brand authentic.
Mhm.
So, what inspired this game was my personal experience with outsmarting a toxic boss. And I can say that with full confidence, and I'm able to actually capitalize on that now, which not a lot of people are able to do. And that was a very intense journey to go through all of that. And to be able to keep the voice authentic, to keep it mischievous, to keep it audacious, you know, it means that I have to have full creative control of the actual brand. And crowdfunding is what would allow for me to do that. Investors sometimes do have a say in like what direction you tend to go in.
Mhm.
Crowdfunding, though, it also helps validate proof of concept. So if people are signing up for your wait list, then that means that you have something that they are willing to wait for. If you have go with crowdfunding, that means that people are willing to invest in you as the founder, as the entrepreneur bringing something into the market, and they believe in your vision and they believe in your mission.
Mhm.
And that is really why I decided we're going to go through the Kickstarter route. Yes, there are other platforms as well
Mhm.
for, games and things of the sort. But Kickstarter, like I've been a Kickstarter backer before. I've really enjoyed the products that I've gotten from Kickstarter. And since I've been a backer, I figured why not also be a creator on there as well. Yeah.
Now, I did an interview, which I'll link to it in the show notes. I did an interview with Josh Jenny several months ago. I think before you and I had our first conversation. He's back last summer, I believe it was, the end of last summer. And I had just interviewed Josh, who did a very successful Kickstarter campaign
Mhm.
for his indie book project and raised, I think the last time he and I spoke, it was around 200, it was a quarter of $1 million when we spoke, when we first met. And I believe it's now up to, I think, a little over 300. And he's now working on his second project. And
Mhm.
I remember when you and I first had our first conversation together, vividly, what I remember from that conversation was he said, make sure that you have a basically a hungry audience already anticipating the launch day of when they can go and support the product, and that those first hours that it's live is really critical to its success and in terms of hitting the numbers that you want and then having continue to grow. So I'd love to ask you, and following up, several months later,
Mhm.
how has that proved? Let me backtrack a second. Has the Kickstarter campaign started?
No, it has not. So I'm in the pre-launch phase right now.
Okay.
I haven't decided exactly which date, but it's either going to actually launch May 30th
Mm.
or June 30th. It's one of the two.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
it will be happening either in May or in June.
Okay. That was great. First question. Second question
Mhm.
is how, since we had that initial conversations, like I said, several months ago, how is that what I talked about as far as getting up your wait list and all of that going? How has that been working for you?
So it's been going quite well.
Okay.
My waitlist is growing slowly but surely. However, I will also say it's made me very creative in how I am building that waitlist. So, luckily for me, my story is very gossip worthy. And so, because of that, I have leveraged that to my advantage. Word of mouth has been the primary source to get people on the list. Let me look right now. So, there are 113 Little Menaces, part of the Little Corporate Menace community, which is super exciting. And as a way to kind of get people interested as well in the brand, but also in the game, I decided that I was going to be doing villain reveals as part of the pre-launch.
Wonderful.
So, when it comes to attracting people to your waitlist, you have to be creative. Luckily for me, I already had these profiles set up for all the different villains in my universe.
Okay.
So, at certain milestones, when we hit certain individuals, number of individuals, I say, for the waitlist,
Mhm.
other villains are unlocked. So the progress bar on the website, it is automated. So when you refresh it, it will give you the updated number on there. So it's updated live. And also when the count hits a certain number, it will automatically unlock the file for the next villain. So I essentially gamified my pre-launch marketing strategy. So people are coming to the website, they are checking to see if we've hit it, they're telling their friends, they're recruiting. And unlike with the Kickstarter where you are recruiting people to buy, instead of buying in automatically with your dollars, buy in with your email
Yeah.
and read the files for yourself. And see if you think my humor is worth your while. See if the game is something that's worth your while. See if the newsletter is. And then in doing that, then you get to really decide if you're going to be a backer. But in the meantime, I have a very big goal. Some might say it's a wild goal, but I like being a little delusional sometimes. And the goal is to get 10,000 people to sign up for this wait list before the Kickstarter launches. So we will see what happens. We're making strides slowly but surely, but putting it out there, and whoever wants to check it out can check it out. But there are 10 different villains. One has already been released to the public. And when we hit 7,500 Little Menaces, then the entire Little Menace community gets to decide what sector of the workforce is going to be the next card deck. So if it's going to be government, if it's going to be healthcare, if it's going to be academia, or if it's going to be, what was the other one? Nonprofit, because the first one is corporate, because that's where I was working before. So it's just getting people involved and seeing how, like, do you believe in taking down toxic bosses? Do you want to be a part of the mission? And figuring out how to get people excited. So this was my way. And also share the gossip. Tell everyone you know.
I absolutely love everything you just said. I love it. What I love about it is, again, it's back to that narrative, using a narrative style in which to educate people, but from a narrative perspective. It just makes it so much. And what I love about it is people are already getting. I've been in the online marketing world space, if you will, now for 20 plus years. When back in the day, what we now call landing pages, back in the day, they called them squeeze pages.
Oh, okay.
And I remember the first online marketer was saying, this was back in 2009, never forget it. He said, I am no longer calling my landing page a squeeze page because but the whole intention was the only thing you could do is wasn't going to be on your website where all the other links were going to be. Either you gave the contact information or you left. So they basically cause I'm going to squeeze the information out of you. And that was the initial, terminology. That was back in like 2006, 7, 8, 9, so forth. So this big internet marketer said, I'm going to call mine a welcome mat page.
Mhm.
I don't want you to feel like I'm shaking you down for your contact information, to do that. And so then they dropped all of that and they started calling them landing pages. The same thing, but all of that aside, whatever you choose to call it, you're not just giving someone a typical, like, oh, download a PDF or go get this or go get that. Like, you're starting the experience, Haisa, from the minute that they go to your first point of engagement where they can give you information. You already setting up what the journey is going to be like to walk with you. And I think that's absolutely and totally brilliant. So bravo to
Thank
you for
you.
that.
Thank you. I'm like, we need to make it fun. Like, if I'm going to be selling a game, I have to show people that I know how to have fun and
Yes.
how to gamify things.
Yes,
So this is how I did it.
absolutely.
This is
That's
how I did it.
really good. Wow, I'm blown away by that. And you got to give me links to everything so I can put all that in the show
Yes,
notes for everyone. So
definitely.
now the next question I'm going to ask as it relates to the Kickstarter campaign, I know you're saying you're still trying to decide on the date. How has it been for you to organize the different levels and offers that you will launch with when you first open the cart for people to go and support?
Yes. So I'm still in the process of doing that. I had created the entire campaign, got feedback on it. Again, feedback, very important, especially if it's your first time. And I was lucky enough to have someone in my network who was kind enough to sit with me for 2 hours and go through everything.
Hmm.
And it's important to remember that when you're creating the backer tiers, so, the different achievement goals, the stretch goals, that there are certain things that you might think are a good idea, but that's going to cut into your profit margin.
Okay.
That's going to cut into fulfillment time.
Okay.
And so throughout all of this, I'm learning so many new things. I'm learning words in manufacturing that I didn't even know existed before.
Hmm.
I'm learning the different types of cardstock that exist out there
Hmm.
that I was not privy to. So
Hmm.
you're very much a beginner, especially if you're starting out on your first one.
Hmm.
It also depends on what it is that you're trying to bring to market.
Hmm.
But taking everything down, writing notes, allowing yourself to be the student instead of the teacher
Hmm.
is definitely very helpful.
Hmm.
Like I had a conversation with a card game printer, and on the call, I'm like, I don't know what any of these words mean. I'm a visual learner. Can you please send me cardstock examples, like samples, like over the mail so I can feel what they're like?
Yes.
Can you send me pictures of what the different boxes are supposed to look like? Working with a packaging specialist, it's like, I don't know what these files are supposed to look like.
Hmm.
I don't know what you need from me. I
Hmm.
just know that I need to speak to you at this time. And being honest with yourself as well about that is going to make the process so much easier because then you get to let the experts shine and do their thing. And
Hmm.
there is nothing that people love more than helping other people and also flexing their expertise a little bit. Let them.
Yes.
And that's really what it's been like. I'm still developing the campaign. I am a one-woman show.
Gotcha.
So everything like the website, I did that all by myself. Well, with the help of Claude, I will not lie. I am
Gotcha.
not a coder, but I am a very good prompter. So, setting up the website, doing the marketing, setting up everything else. I come from an operations background, so I think in systems. So I'm building these systems to be able to help me sustain the business as well. This isn't just going to be a one-time campaign. This is something that I see happening continuously. Like I want more decks. I want people to get help in other areas of the workforce that may need it. Because that's really what the game is all about. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, well, there's just so many different ways I could go with this, but I don't want to keep you forever because I could. But um, but what I love about is that you're not letting the fact that you don't know stop you
oh no.
from moving.
No.
And this is something, there's a book by a gentleman's name is Dan Sullivan, I believe is his name, and it's called Who Not How.
Mhm.
And I'll put the link in the show. I'm talking about this book constantly, constantly talking about this book. And what I love about it is that as creatives, and many people, but more so creatives, we sometimes will tend to get stuck with, well, I don't know how to do that.
Mhm.
And what everything that you shared in your your walk with this is you didn't necessarily focus in, based on what I'm picking up, what you just said, you didn't focus on, well, I don't know how to do this. You basically had the mentalities, who can show me how to do this? And when you take that perspective, the who appears.
Mhm.
But typically, what happens is a lot of us get stuck in, well, I don't know how, so we stay stuck. And what I love about the fact that you didn't wait for that, and you found that people you found whether people came to you or you found them, however it came together. But the point is that they showed up that could walk you through the paper stock and the structure of the files, and and how everything is going to get put together, the manufacturing terms. And what I also love about it is once you know it, you will never unknow it.
Exactly. Like you will always learn, and it's always intimidating, a little bit scary to like go and do something new for the first time.
Hmm.
But it's like if you didn't have it before, so you're probably going to have it after you ask for help. And if someone isn't willing to ask for help, I mean, if someone's not willing to give you help,
Yes,
there's always someone else. There are two philosophies that I live my life by. Mouths that don't talk don't get fed. So if
exactly.
you don't ask for help, you're not going to get any.
Hmm.
But more important, no just means next opportunity. So if someone tells you no, there is more than likely someone else who will tell you yes.
Exactly, exactly. And
So,
I'll even take that no response even to another level because, and I don't mean to say this in a way to scare anyone off, but I'm saying that no sometimes may end up being more of a gift than a curse
oh,
because
yeah.
sometimes the yes may end up being, well, I almost wish they said no once I knew what I was really, what I was really dealing with. So, I don't ever say to anyone like, don't take the no. Like I'll even take it a step further. If I'm just really weighing it out and I'm just really not clear, but I just feel like, okay, I'm going to go with this because this is what's in front of me and this is what I feel like I know.
Mhm.
And I
Exactly.
don't want to get all, whatever on people. I'm just gonna say I'm a person of faith and I say, listen, this is what I'm gonna move forward with. If this isn't for me or I'm not supposed to do this, block it, stop it, sabotage it, and let me be okay with it. Because I would rather it get blocked for all the things I can't see because it looks good on the front
Yes.
end.
Hmm.
So just like I said, no sometimes can be a blessing, and the yes could be a curse. It just depends on who it is. It's all a learning experience at the end of the day. So don't take it like literally like going, oh, I'm damned now because the person's the person said
So,
yes.
because
So
also there's also a not yet. So maybe the timing as well isn't right. Like that's another thing that I'm learning. I love to do everything all together at the same time,
mhm,
but sequencing things is also very important. I
mhm,
wouldn't be able to have these cardstock conversations if I didn't go to Staples and print these out by myself first.
mhm, mhm,
No, I wouldn't be able to talk to a packaging specialist if I didn't have an idea of what I wanted the design of the cards to look like. And so it can be frustrating at times when you're trying to bring something into the world and you're doing it by yourself.
mhm,
But that's also the beauty of it because just like in nature, you have your times of winter where the seed is in the ground and it's not doing much. And
mhm,
then slowly it comes out and it starts to bloom. And then there's the harvest.
mhm,
And thinking about it that way, when you are first creating something, like that's the winter period where you
mhm,
are doing things behind the scenes.
mhm,
And then as you need more help, you start talking to more people and then you start to put your stuff out there. And with time, you get more comfortable with talking about it, and then it's ready for the harvest. It's there. People are
mhm.
ready to consume it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so thinking about that as well. And also, we live in a digital era. Like YouTube University is very much a real thing. If
yes.
you want to learn about cardstock, I'm sure people are making videos about it.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
are need
Exactly.
to learn like something about them, like there are people out there that genuinely love talking about these things and will happily share free content online. You just have to take the time to investigate and research as well.
You want
So,
to do it. And nowadays, you don't even really need that anymore. I mean, we've also got, like I said, Chat GPT now. At least it can start to give you some information or, Claude or what have you. But yeah, I remember years ago, I had a client that I asked a question of, and he said, well, did you contact the Oracle? And I said, who's the Oracle? And he said, Google.
exactly. Exactly. Like that actually makes me chuckle because like the other day I created a Claude council for myself because someone on
Hmm.
TikTok recommended creating a council to help run your ideas by when it comes to your
Hmm.
own business
Hmm. Hmm.
and creating different personas for like individual on the council because you might not have access to those people in your network immediately,
Yes.
but doing something like that might be able to help you get closer. That doesn't replace, it never replaces human intelligence and
Hmm.
experience and wisdom
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
But it's going to reduce the barrier to entry. And I think that's what's also really important.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying something new, you need something to help you get over that like hump of failing and fear. So,
I'll say this on the AI thing for just a moment. I mean, I love it. I took me a minute to wrap my head around it, but I love it. And what I'll say about it, because I'm a researcher. Like I'm the person that you tell me something, but even before Google, when we still only had Yahoo, I'm gonna age myself. When online meant AOL. That's how old I am. So that was the online thing. But even back then, but like I said, I was a person that would go to the library and be there all day
Mhm.
to find out something that I needed to know. So being a researcher, I use AI as that the more modern day tool of time that we're using in order to get that information. Not that we don't need, we shouldn't fact check what's being
Oh, of
said to
course.
us. But it's the same thing as if I mean, Google is nothing but a collection of other people's thoughts, blogs, videos, whatever the case may be. So everything still has to be fact checked. Point I'm trying to make is as we are in this age now of AI having such a strong proliferation and more people are adopting it, it can be used if it's structured properly as assistance to us as a part of that R&D. Not that it's everything face value, but at least in helping to get that. But I think where the big struggle is for people is that they don't necessarily know how to use it effectively.
Yes.
Or they are literally trusting it out the can like it's 100% accurate.
Mhm.
And so I think where the real trend is people understanding or learning how to use the tool and how to fact check the tool and still use it, but just know that it's going to be more to it than just like going to Google and typing in a word and something comes up on the screen. When was that video put out? If it's on YouTube, if it's 5 years old, I can promise you, especially if it has anything to do with tech stuff, I can promise you the interface on that website now than what that video was made 5 years ago is not the same.
Mhm.
So being able to just use the tools, but just be willing to go a little bit deeper and don't get so frustrated because it didn't come out of the box
Mhm.
perfect. Is always just, I think people learning how to do that's going to be have an easier journey with this as opposed to either I'm afraid of it because I believe that it's the devil, or or I just believe whatever it says
Mhm.
with no fact checking to it. So, but the bottom line, the information is out there and the resources are available. What I also want to say to you too, Haisa, is I love the fact that you didn't with the card deck, and because of print on demand right now, which back in the day we didn't have Kinko's, I mean, we didn't have Amazon and Lulu and all these other companies now. When you get an idea for a product, a physical product like a card deck or a book, there's so many print on demand companies. You can get a prototype whipped out like that. But you even went to Staples, which I loved. When I did my first book, I used Kinko's to do my first because there was no Amazon. There was no, I'm serious, I had AOL and Netscape. you know. And so I went to Kinko's to have my first prototypes made. But to have that tangibility in your hand to show people, it gets them more like, oh, okay, I'm seeing it. I
Real.
can buy into it.
It feels real because what this is what I've realized that until you have like if you're creating a physical product, until it is physically in your hand, it's difficult to kind of imagine yourself getting to the point where you're making your first sale.
Yes.
So when you have a prototype in
Yes.
your hand, even if it's being held together by rubber bands like mine is,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
it shows you like this is very much real. And
Hmm.
then getting people's live reactions to it makes it even more real. Like I get so much joy from seeing people laughing when they play the game, from seeing people have moments of confusion when they play the game. Because those moments of confusion mean, oh, okay, that's something that I can fix. That's something I can iterate on. Like
Yes.
that is something that I can tweak a little. Oh, I didn't think about it that way. And then getting people to share their feedback because sometimes people don't even have people to share or talk about things to. And
Yes.
so it's so important because people want to be heard. And when you are bringing a product to market, you're giving them the opportunity to give that feedback. And it's really great. And it's honestly a lot of fun. but I'm also making a card game, so I'm always having a blast with this.
Well, and he's, I mean, it can be with anything. I personally recommend, I mean, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I'm not shameless because it's my show, but I'm gonna do a plug for, and that, well, I'd be shame, hell, it's my show. But I'm doing a plug for my book. So this is the book I'm working on right now. I don't know if I can't see it, if I've got
Oh
that
yeah.
thing on. But anyway, but I started doing, it's called The Entrepreneur Decision.
Mhm.
And I well, so I'm showing the book, but this is the mock-up of it. I can't see myself on camera here. This is the mock-up, but this is just the cover. The
Yeah.
inside of this is completely blank.
Hmm.
Now, what I did by doing this was I said, first of all, I wanted it in my hand. I wanted to hold it to make it tactile, to make it feel real to me. That was the first thing. The second thing was I knew by seeing it sitting on my desk, staring me in my face, it would make me work on it because I look at it and I go, oh, like this is actually real. Now I know the inside of it is blank,
Hmm.
but as I'm working the book, I'm workshopping the book, I'm workshopping the content that will go into the book, and I'll be featuring the people that I'm working with inside the book. So I'm building it with them.
Exactly.
And as I've shared this with people, I did a video about it, which I'll put the link into it in the show notes. I did what I call an unboxing. So I ordered it from the company I use, which is Lulu,
Mhm.
ordered the prototype. The mock-up. I got it in the mail. I had not seen it. I literally opened the box on camera,
Mhm.
look at it for the first time. And I did that and then made the video about it. And then I got so many people commenting about it. They said, I never would have thought to do that. I never would have thought to just go and get, because now it costs me $10 to do this.
Mhm.
And I'm not telling anyone to go buy it because I know it's blank on the inside because I am building up I'm doing my what I call my interest group, my interest audience. I'm getting their buy-in as I'm developing. And I personally believe this is the new, fresh way in which for us as published creators to create and market our products. I love the fact that in your case, you chose to go to Staples. I probably could have gone to Staples and had this done too. But imagine just now, this was the cover. This was AI. I mean, I did a little zhuzhing with it in Canva, but I have the skills to be able to do that and move on it. Now, imagine if I had just gone up and not told a soul about this and spent 6 months writing this and I told no one about it.
It'd be an expensive hobby.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, the bottom line about it is not even that. It's that I'm still going to have to promote it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to have to market it. I'd rather do it now as I'm building it in real time, building the plane as I fly it, as I heard a business coach say years ago, as opposed to I'm not going to tell a soul. I'm going to go off into my cave where no one will see me, and I'm right by candlelight in the middle of the night. No one's going to what I'm doing, then I'm going to come out. I always say in my webinars, I'm going to come out like the Lion King holding baby Simba out into the air, whatever. So, but no one's looking for Simba. No one knew Simba was coming. So I
No.
just believe that is Mark. What you're doing, Haisa, is you are marketing. You're not marketing once the game is done. You're marketing now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love. And that's what I want everyone to take from this conversation. Once you decide that you're going to develop this idea, what's the quickest, most tangible 1.0 version of your idea can you get into people's hands literally? And
Yeah.
then you iterate and develop.
For example, the first prototype that I had for my game, I needed to validate that people actually found my humor funny. So I was making a whole bunch of memes on TikTok
Mm-hmm.
about outsmarting toxic bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 6 months. And it was each meme was a different angle on the humor, trying to see what resonated most with people to get an idea too of like what would give that satisfying emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
How they would actually embody the corporate menace costume. And that was my MVP. That was the first version. I had to validate the humor. Now that there's almost 1,100 people that follow the TikTok account, people engage with it all the time. And that also, here's the important thing that also ties into what you mentioned earlier. Doing that helped me overcome the fear of being seen. And that's what a lot of people have when it comes to putting their work out there. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of their product not being good enough. They're afraid of what other people are going to say. And luckily for me, like I decided like I was going to go all in for this. So I didn't really have the luxury of playing small. Either I was going to go all in or I wasn't.
Mhm.
And I knew that I wanted to turn those lemons into lemonade. That I
Mhm.
wanted to show people how humor can really help you heal and overcome, because that's what it did for me.
Mhm.
And humor also helps you separate yourself from something that you're going through that's difficult. That's why dark humor is a thing.
Yes.
And that is also why, you're able to then think more strategically and you're able to navigate situations in a way that maybe you wouldn't have been able to because of the emotional turmoil that might be going on. And the memes were a way for me to just have fun and laugh
Mhm.
and use really silly sounds
Mhm.
and make those and also showcase my personality. My TikTok is very unhinged. Like here I am showing up on camera with like makeup on, hair polished, and my TikTok has a whole bunch of swear words and like really wild songs. But
Yes.
it's funny. People
Yeah.
love it. It's a good time. And so it also ties in that people are multifaceted. You're multifaceted. There are different parts of your brand that are also multifaceted.
Yes.
So figure out what might be the thing that's going to really hinder you the most when it comes to putting your product out there and test that first.
Mhm.
So then you don't waste time. In my case, it was humor. Do
Mhm.
people actually think I'm funny?
Mhm.
Then it just kind of took on from there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just about being you. It's about being who we are. You know, I definitely grew up in that era where you had your corporate polished version of yourself, and then you had how you really are when when the uniform is off. And it wasn't even that I realized, I just, this is it. This is me. This is how I am.
yeah,
And you know, cool, whatever. But the bottom line about it is eventually whatever the choreographed version is gonna take a back seat when the quote unquote real me decides to come out and play this. Sometimes I can contain him. And sometimes he gets away from me. He's slippery and quick and he gets away from me. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what, this is what it is. But the point I'm trying to make is that in the era of what we call the personal brand, I don't think people really still know what that means. I think a lot of people still hear the word branding and they think logos and colors.
no. Branding is a feeling.
Yes,
Branding is a feeling. When you think of Walt Disney, you don't think of the logo, you think of the magic and fairy tales.
yes.
When you think of Nike, you don't think of
The
sneakers.
swoosh.
Think
Yeah.
of someone who just goes out and does something.
Just do
Um,
it.
and the thing is with branding too, it's what kind of emotion are you looking to evoke in people?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want them to remember you by?
Mm-hmm.
And with my brand, literally called Outsmart Your Toxic Boss,
Mm-hmm.
I named my company that because I thought it was hilarious. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was ironic. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really fabulous way to
Mm-hmm.
elegantly flip off the corporate space in a
Yeah.
really funny, satirical way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's something that's memorable and it's polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a successful brand, to have like a cult following,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's good to have a polarizing brand.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I'm also the kind of person that very much can be a menace. And I enjoy that about myself. And that's something that comes to my personality. And because I know that I am the kind of person who would put a voice activated sticker on a coffee machine just to be petty. I know I would. And I have no qualms about that. Like, I would totally do that, unashamed.
Yeah.
And not everyone is, but that's okay. You get to try on the costume, you get to see what it's like and see how that's going to make you feel. You can laugh about the absurdity, you know? And that's what people are going to remember my brand by. They're going to remember the audacity. They're going to remember the mischievousness. They're going to remember, the directness, the no shame. And when it comes to your personal brand, it's really what do you want to be remembered by?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be remembered by empowering, helping other people feel empowered and growing a backbone
Mm-hmm.
and understanding the difference between having high standards at work
Mm-hmm.
and being taken advantage of, because there is a
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to know that, you have to empower yourself and understand how the workplace really works and how politics work.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
do that, make it fun.
Yeah.
Help the people stay engaged.
Well, at its core, hey, so what you're really doing is you're in giving people the maybe for sometimes for the very first time the realization that they don't have to just put up with it because it's a paycheck attached to it.
Yeah, no, you don't. Because here's the thing, and this is what I think people really need to take home, especially after listening to all of this. Outsmarting a toxic boss is not about getting back at like one person.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it's about. Outsmarting a toxic boss is not only showing that individual, but more importantly, showing yourself that they never had power over your future or your career in the first place.
Yes.
That you have gotten to a point where you trust yourself to get back up, rebuild, and still be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That you still have the ability to create something, make a living for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and live your life on your own terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're not going to let someone bully you into being a doormat at work. You're not going to let someone get in the way of your promotion. You're not going to let someone get in the way of you transferring to a different team because you like the other team better. They're
Yeah.
not going to get in the way of you moving to another company, and they're not going to get in the way of you building your own. That's what it means to outsmart a toxic boss. Because at the end of the day, no one puts baby in a corner. So don't let them. And
Nothing.
if they try, make them regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the game is all about. They may have had the right idea, but the wrong one in mind. So go out there and show them, but more importantly, show yourself. Because then that's what's going to keep you going. That's the essence of the brand.
Well, and on that, and I'll land the plane for this for us with this. What you're doing, and this is what I tell everyone to do, is your story, your experiences, especially the ones that really tested you,
Mhm.
are the ones that actually you need to tell, you need to package, you need to because I have no doubt in my mind that there are thousands, if not millions of people who are in the situation. They're in the trenches of it right now, and they're not going to start a blog, start a podcast, write a book, let alone create a game. They're just going to suck it up and deal with it. But I don't have any disrespect about that because you're doing what you got to do to keep yourself afloat. I understand and respect that, madly respect that. But it's when, for those of us, what I've gone go so far as to say are chosen, and I say we choose ourselves to draw a line in the sand. No, I mean, you could have just gone off and got another job and kept the train moving, but you got pulled to something that was bigger, probably
Yeah.
even bigger than you,
Mhm.
but you didn't let that stop you. And so, what I want people to extrapolate from the conversation today is if you're feeling any connection to what we're saying and what Raissa is saying in particularly, don't take it like, well, that's her and she can do that. Well, but there's something in you. If you're listening to this, there's something in you that, whatever it may be, whatever the challenges are that we may have. And yes, it's going to take some chutzpah. It's going to take some guts. It's going to take some guile. It's going to take some, sometimes, but sometimes that being in that environment, and I worked in corporate for many years, so trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. I could not wait to get out of that stuff. And being self-employed has not been a picnic either, but I'll take it over dealing with that foolishness any day of the week. So what I'm saying to everyone listening, if there's something inside you, and we all do. If you say you don't have anything, you're lying. But we all have something that is propelling us, that's making us unhappy, unsatisfied, unfulfilled. And there are millions of other people out there dealing with the same thing, whether it's a game, it's a book, it's a course, it's a retreat, it's a whatever. If it's on your heart to do it and it's nagging at you and won't let you go, I say the more angry about it you get, the more passionate you are.
Yeah, I would
Really.
definitely say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it really gets you to the point, like I remember they used to call me back in the day, I was horrible. I was back then, so my name is Rodney, and they started calling me Yendor. And I said, "What's Yendor?" It's my name spelled backwards. When I would like the flip would switch, and I would be
My
like being
God.
from Rodney to like being like, kind of thing. But it was just like, and I remember when we had our last sort of meeting, and they were like going, "Well, Rodney, they won't do this and they won't do that. So what do we do?" And I'm like going, "Leave,
Mhm.
go someplace else. You don't have to stay here. That's what I'm doing. Leave. We don't have to put up with stuff that we don't like."
No, we don't have to. And the thing is, when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see what the alternatives are.
Hmm.
And that is by design, which is why I created the villains in the universe in the first place.
Hmm.
Each villain is an example of what tactics are used in coercive control, how that's used in that kind of an environment, and
Hmm.
like the academic research behind it. So you can spot the patterns. And
Hmm.
this is going to sound really funny, but I mean it literally. So I've heard it's like in Alcoholics Anonymous, they say that self-awareness is the first step to change.
Hmm.
And I'm not an alcoholic, but it's just something that really stands out because for you to realize something needs to change, you have to become aware,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so you may not be happy, and there is a reason why, and that is okay. Becoming aware is what helps you then strategize and realize what are the next steps that you have to take.
Yes.
The game is designed to make people more aware because some people don't realize they're working in a toxic environment until they're out of it because
Yes.
it's normalized, you know?
Yes.
And so in the game, the situations, they are satirical enough and outrageous enough that you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is something that's in this card deck. But at the same time, something very similar to me happened that I went through, or that, like, my cousin went through, or my friend,
Hmm.
whoever.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you start putting the pieces together, and that's where the pattern recognition comes in.
Hmm.
So if you're not happy where you are right now, career-wise, that's just data. It's a signal. And you have to allow yourself to explore.
Hmm.
And that's the hard part. It's allowing yourself to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there is probably a reason why you're unhappy, and it's also because people people or things are getting away with making you unhappy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're benefiting from your dissatisfaction of life. And when you think of it that way, it's like, how do I take back my energy, take back my focus, and bring back happiness into my life in little ways? Even if
Hmm.
that means you bought a new spoon, and it's your new favorite spoon, and you're like your new favorite ice cream. That's a
Hmm.
moment of happiness in your life.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
so
Well,
yeah,
what you're doing, right, how you say, is you're helping people, again, what I'm always saying constantly all the time, is you're helping people think differently.
yeah.
You're creating an experience. So this is the takeaways. You're helping people. First of all, you're taking your own experiences, your own dramas, traumas, everything that happened, and didn't take it from the perspective of, oh, this is done to me. I can't do anything about it.
No, no, no,
You
not at
know,
all.
you took
Uh-uh.
that and then you figured out how to package it in a way that actually helps other people realize that they don't have to deal with it either.
No, they don't. And honestly, what I'm gonna say next is I'm laughing. It's just so on brand for the corporate menace, but I personally think there is nothing more iconic than reducing someone's management style into a deck of cards and profiting off of it. And that's what I'm gonna do. Because my attorney, my mom, and my therapist said I could. And that's the holy trifecta in my life. So let's go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Go.
Oh my God, this has been such an amazing. I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation, and I
Yes,
wish you
definitely.
nothing but success with this. I have no doubt in my mind it's going to do really, really well. So for you all listening, I'm going to have all of the links into the description here on YouTube, where you can click and check out your Hais's landing page. Definitely do that. Get on that wait list so that you'll be notified when the Kickstarter campaign comes in. I'm also going to have some links to the interview I did with Josh Jenny, who talked about his success with Kickstarter. And I also will have a link in there to how to get a sample preview of my forthcoming book, which I don't know when it's going to happen yet because I just put the mock up out there. The Entrepreneur Decision. What I really want everyone to take away from this is that, again, I keep saying this over and over again, like a broken record, but it's the truth. Think differently. Like maybe you've been wanting to put your passions, your talents, your interest, your frustrations, your fears, or whatever. And maybe the book is not really coming together. Maybe it is a card deck. Maybe it is a course. Maybe it is. So I like to expand the definition of authorship from just being a printed book or a digital book. It could be any of those things, and just allow yourself to kind of, as you're listening, kind of permeate on that a little bit. If I did want to make a card deck like Haisa, how would I do that? Go back and listen to some of the things that she said. Perhaps maybe you start playing with AI, or you're doing some sketching, or you're writing out just, some ideas or whatever. Brainstorm it, workshop it. If you want some additional support around it, contact me. I know that Haisa is in the middle of her launch. What I would love to do, Haisa, is after the launch and everything goes off, maybe later in the early fall or late summer, I'd love to have you back. I would love to hear how it all went if you're open to
Of
that.
course. So I would love that. I think that'd be great. Yes. A
Wonderful,
full circle moment. That'd be perfect. Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Because I really love this idea. And I just feel like, because you made me think, I says, why does authorship have to mean just a book?
Mm-mm.
It doesn't have to mean just a book. Not there's anything wrong with the book, but it doesn't have to mean just a book. It can be audio. It can be a myriad of different things. I'm always saying try to meet our people in the learning modalities in which they most resonate. It
Mhm.
could be a variety. It could be audio and video and a book and a card deck. I'm not saying you're going to do all of this, but I'm saying it could be, a blend of these things to meet people where they are. But what I love about it is that you're focusing on one model.
Oh, yes. Now I am. But that's also because I've had to learn how to focus on one thing. It's not
Yes,
easy, but
yes,
it does make it easier after a while. So.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, Haisa, do you have any final words for the listeners, or
Ooh, yes. Go to outsmartyourtoxicboss.com, snoop, read, gossip, tell everyone you know, sign up for the wait list, read
yes,
Gaslighting Gabe's file. The closer we get to each milestone, the faster the files are dropping, and get ready to be entertained because there is a lot of hot corporate gossip in my little universe that's waiting for all of you.
I love it. 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 That is so cool. All righty. Well, thank you all so much for watching and listening. And like I said, all the notes to everything is going to be here in the description. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions for me or anything in the comments. And I'll also be sharing the link with Haisa. So, maybe if there are comments you have for her, or, have she can, respond to you on that. And we'll see you back later in the year for the recap and the follow-up and I'll say
Yes,
the debrief of what
yes,
happened.
the debrief, 1000%.
The debrief. Absolutely. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast.